Welcome to Courtney on Health with Courtney Gravenese and Maxine. What's your last name? Marco
My
Rubin.
name?
Maxine Rubin,
I have too
Malcolm
many
Rubin.
last names. I have
Yeah.
two. Margot, which is my maiden name, and Rubin, which is my married name. You put them all together and you got me.
Do you have a middle name?
Actually, I do.
Which
Faith.
is?
Faith.
Faith.
Keep the faith.
That.
Keep the faith,
Maxine,
baby.
Faith, Margot Rubin.
That's
right.
it.
Oh, well, that's a
me.
mouthful.
Oh
Anyway.
boy. All right. So now completely digress from what we need to be
By
doing.
the way, I got to put the plug in. It's malcolmpresents.com.
Right. And today we're cooking.
Today we're
So this is exciting. This is going to be exciting. So I'll bring everyone in here. So we're going to bring in Courtney, who's just like there with a beautiful pot of waiting to cook something she'll tell you about.
To be used.
Yeah, cool. And so hi, Courtney, and I see she's going to be cutting up some carrots and celery, and oh boy. So here we go. So we already brought in Malcolm. Courtney, welcome to Courtney on Health, a Zoomcast series about how to get through these lingering COVID-19 times, which Omicron, with tips on nutrition and exercise given by Courtney Gravenese, registered dietitian with a Master of Science degree in nutrition and applied physiology. Courtney is an experienced nutritional and health consultant in the New York metro area and beyond, and will help guide you on a path to wellness and health.
Oh, but by the way, I've been reading several books about, health and nutrition. The latest one was Keep Sharp by Sanjay Gupta, which was a bestseller. And everything I read in the book, I say, yeah, that's what Courtney said. We had that show number 5, show number 6. But everything I'm reading is sort of a repeat of what you said. As far as
you need to do a book.
See, dude.
I think you have enough from all the shows even to do. You have enough chapters. It's
seriously.
Think about it.
I just need a publisher. Go ahead.
Hey, you never know. All right, that's a whole other show.
What we might have to do is take all your shows and have it edited and sell it as a group, as an
audio book.
Audio book.
All right. That's an off-topic subject. So we're talking about a poem that I picked out, and it's called, because it really fits today, Oh, Comfort Food by Cassandra Hamilton. Oh, comfort food, how I love your taste. My huge pint of ice cream I never seem to waste. I eat you in the morning, I eat you when it's late. Most of all, I eat you to wipe away the pain. Oh, comfort food, how I love your taste. My huge bowl of cereal I never seem to waste. I eat you when it's light out, I eat you when it's dark. Most of all, I eat you like a huge man-eating shark. Oh, comfort food, how I love your taste. My big plate of meat I never seem to waste. I eat you for breakfast, I eat you for dinner too. Most of all, I eat you for painful reasons too. Well, comfort food is there for a lot of people, and especially during these crazy times we're in. So, whether we crave spaghetti and meatballs or a big bowl of matzo ball soup, we want our homespun favorites just the way mom and dad made it. We want heartwarming comfort foods to get us through this moment in time of Delta and Omicron. We seek comfort, and food is comfort. Yeah. Baking has been a big uptick with sourdough bread on everyone's to-do list. They were running out of, ingredients for sourdough for a while. I wonder if that changed. We had lots of time to gather around the TV set with ice cream and potato chips and sweet treats that help us cope and give us comfort we need. I remember Sara Lee pound cake and Entenmann's coffee cake. I loved my mom's rugelach and eggy and cheesy for breakfast. She had a certain way to make it, which I'm still figuring out, but I'm pretty close because it was her consistency of it was something I couldn't figure out. And I finally did, actually. She cracks the consistency of her egg and cheese. She called it eggy and cheesy. And she used American cheese and she used eggs, but she put the cheese in and then she put the egg in without, stirring the egg. And then she would stir it in, in the pan. And that's the key. And I
In the
was not
back.
doing it all those years until I
See?
remember in my brain, I watched her do this. And what did she do? And that's simple tricks that make it different.
My major question, is there really American cheese? Because it's American
Yeah.
processed cheese.
But that's okay. It's a comfort food for you, Max, so that's all that matters.
Thank you. So comfort food makes us feel good, and Courtney will help us feel good today, but with a little bit of a healthier twist. So, we need to know, Courtney, what are the comfort foods that are more nutritious? Could you give us some background on comfort food and how this all fits into today's episode?
So interesting. I mean, everybody I think has their favorite comfort food, right? You mentioned some of yours. Some people like a sweet comfort food. Some people migrate towards a savory comfort food. And the reality is, if it makes you feel good about, your space and your headspace, as long as it's not awful for you and you're eating it every single day, you know what? You need to keep that and treasure that. What I'd like to focus on today are those comfort foods as we move into shorter days, colder nights, at least for us, Malcolm. You guys always have beautiful weather there, but as it gets a little bit cooler, we tend to migrate towards those warming of the soul, think soups and stews and chilies and stoops, which is a combination of half stoop, half stew, kind of put together. So a little thicker than a soup and a little thinner than a stew in there.
But just a little update. I saw the weather report from New York.
Yeah.
Actually, it was from Brooklyn. It said 52 degrees in the morning.
I know.
I went
So
out
we'll take
walking. I went out walking. It was 48 degrees.
Oh, okay. So, but in our case, we know that that's a fleeting
little anomaly. Right.
So I'd like to, this is new for us, right? So we're going to journey on this. I'm going to attempt to at least I'm making lentil soup today. For a lot of people, as we said, soups are a great comfort food. We're going to try and go through the steps, and it really is relatively easy. So you guys know I'm a registered dietitian. I'm an exercise physiologist. I am not a classically trained chef. I'm a pretty good home chef, which is good for many of you watching, because that means that you don't need fancy skills. You need some basics. You need to keep your digits still on your hand by using, good sharp knives, and you're good to go. So these comfort foods can be vegetarian based. We're making lentil soup today. I am going to be using some chicken broth, but you could swap out vegetable broth if you wanted to, or just plain water if you wanted to. You can make great chicken stews if you wanted to, rather than using meat, if you don't eat red meat at all. But even if you're using typical stew meat, buy the leanest cut of meat you can find. Maybe trim a little of the excess fat that's on there, and a little can go a long way. You don't need a ton of it. Really bulk up on a lot of the incredible fall and winter veg that they're available all year. So right now today, I've got my carrots and my celery, but you can use turnips and potatoes and different squashes in there to really bulk it up, so it's a little bit more veg than meat. So again, a little can go a long way. I'm not using it today, but again, more in line with that, a little bit goes a long way. Using a little bit of bacon. I know it's like she's a dietitian and she's talking about bacon, but a few slices of bacon in the base of your starter imparts an incredible smoky flavor to it. And again, you don't need a whole lot. So again, if you do eat pork products, I'm not opposed to a little bit of bacon in there. It is an option and does impart a lot of flavor, but to keep things simple today, we're going with just olive oil. And for those of you who follow my posts, you heard me talk a lot about the Holy Trinity, that caramelization of the traditional base is onions, garlic, carrots, celery, pepper. I don't have pepper today, and really browning that up nicely as the base to a lot of different dishes. Many different cultural dishes start with that base. So it's going to be the base of today's meal, and we can, use that going forward. A lot of these, traditional comfort foods, we want to make sure they tap into the tried and true fill up, like volume foods that expand that gut. We've spoken about foods that fill you before in one of our previous segments. Yeah. Those foods that get into your stomach once they're there, because they take up a lot of space. So think soups and stews and veg, fiber. So they trigger your satiety early on. So not only are they incredibly warming and comforting, but they also will fill you up longer, faster and longer, and keep you from overeating. And these meals in a pot, and I'm using a traditional pot here, but you could certainly use a slow cooker if you've got one at home. Maybe it's buried in the back of one of your cabinets, but pull that out. It's a godsend for people who are, busy working all day long and they can't be manning a pot, or you're carting kids from one place to the other. Those slow cookers make for a great kitchen item. I know people like Instapot also. So if you don't have anything and you're looking for a purchase like that, that would be certainly an option as well. So those filling foods, you fill up on those veg, you're less likely to overeat later on, and you're jam packing them with so many of the compounds in the foods that we've talked about so many times on these shows. So the phytochemicals that are in a lot of our vegetable bases. We spoke about garlic on our last episode as being one of the powerful anti-inflammatory foods you could add to your foods. So all of these different bases provide an incredible base for very nourishing foods that tend to be a little bit lower in calories than maybe some of the other options that are out there. They stay beautifully in your freezer. So make it, I'm a big fan of chop once, use it multiple times. So if you're chopping onions, these are my celery onions in here, chopping onions, chop extra, put them inside a Ziploc bag, whatever you don't use, or a resealable container, put it in your freezer, and then drag it out the next time that you need chopped onions. So again, if you're getting everything dirty already, okay, you've got a cutting board out, you've got your knives out, you might as well go ahead and chop extra and then use it again at another time.
Yeah, how long can they remain fresh in a Ziploc bag, like onions or carrots or anything?
In the freezer?
In the refrigerator.
Well, the onion, I would say if you're going to chop the onion, I would put it right into the freezer and bypass the refrigerator. It'll certainly stay in the refrigerator, but unless it's really sealed well, your fridge is going to very rapidly smell like an onion.
That's the truth.
So you take the veggies and put them in the freezer?
Right, you can chop them and put them in the freezer. And then
how long do they last in the freezer?
What's that?
How long do they last in the freezer?
About easily 3 months.
Wow.
So same thing with, and this has been one of my tips on my posts before too, if you're chopping garlic, and I don't know about you guys or people who do the cooking in your homes, the barrier to chopping garlic is most people don't want their hands to smell like garlic, right? So if you're chopping it, chop more than what you need, put it in little containers, a little bit of olive oil, or even a lesser expensive oil like a canola oil, put a little oil in there and put that in the freezer in little individual serving sizes. So I chopped way more than what I need right now. Whatever we don't use for the soup, I'm going to put it in a little container, a little bit of oil, stick it in my freezer. When I'm busy one night and I want to saute up something, they're ready to go.
And just one question. Well, one question about garlic. Is it true? Well, I find it true when you eat a lot of garlic, the next day it comes through the pores of your skin. You smell like garlic.
Yeah, I mean, if you're eating a lot of it, same thing with a lot of aromatic spices, you might have it. Some people have a hard time with a little bit of they can't digest garlic as well. But I think for a lot of people, it's all a matter of, by the way, this is just olive oil, extra virgin olive oil. You can use canola oil. I get it. Olive oil is expensive. So, use what you have. We spoke about in previous segments, the best oils to use. Canola is good, grapeseed good. Olive oil is great, but you want to make sure, you work within your budget of what you have. So back to your point, Malcolm, adjust, maybe get used to it. If you're not used to cooking with a lot of garlic, maybe start slowly, maybe add a little bit, And then, move upwards, from there to get your palate used to it, get your gut used to it. But again, I'm not saying it has to overpower a meal. That's not pleasant either. But usually a little bit will go a long way.
No, don't get
I'm
me
a
wrong.
garlic
I
fan.
love the garlic. I'm a garlic fan. In fact, I love it when
Yeah,
I
me
go.
too. It's
But the
got,
thing is, I say, people who stand next to me the next day may not like the fact that I like a
Well,
lot of garlic.
too bad, dude. They'll have to get used to it. Garlic is king. I'm sorry. You have to have garlic is very
So I'm
important.
just putting in this pot. Yeah, and, there's my onion is going in first. It might get a little loud in here. It's going to start to sizzle up, as you would expect. So I'm creating that base, that holy trinity base that we were just talking about. So this is going to be onion. It's going to be chopped carrot, or actually these are sliced. It doesn't matter. Shape matters not. More importantly, when you're cooking, for those of you who are not used to cooking or making soups, the shape should be relatively the same size. Why? So that it cooks the same, everything cooks more evenly. Otherwise, you may have larger pieces that are a little on the tough side and smaller pieces that are mush. So again, don't make yourself crazy. You don't need to bust out a measuring tape, but they should be relatively close in size. The next I'm putting in is our celery. This is our base. We're gonna let this cook down. Do not shortchange this process. Okay? There's no way to speed this along. You're gonna just have to give it the time it needs to really caramelize a little bit. Those naturally occurring sugars in the veg are going to create an incredible flavor base. So you kind of let that go. This might be your time to add. Again, we've spoken about salt on our shows also. You're going to need a little, okay? You can try making it completely without, but I feel like your soup is going to be a little flat. So again,
you need a little salt.
Total preference.
Absolutely.
But this is the time to put in your salt and your pepper. You can hear that sizzling away. The garlic, I'm not putting in yet. For those of you who cook with garlic, your onions will take a little bit longer. So you want them to really cook down. Your garlic, really, before you add things like maybe sauce or broth, your garlic is only going to need just until it starts to smell. Now, it'll always smell, but you'll really get that sense. So about less than 2 minutes, really.
Yeah, it's about a minute, actually. A little over a minute. That's it. It's a little over a minute, I find, when I'm cooking with garlic. Yeah. You have to keep the gas or whatever. You have to make sure it's not like on super high, so it doesn't burn it. The key is you don't want to burn anything in your.
Yeah, no, so you're right. You don't want to, you might have just said this. I'm gonna run over and turn up the volume on my computer. But you don't want to burn garlic. That's basically a restart, on your meal.
Yeah.
So we're gonna let this cook down. I am going to talk a little bit about some of our utensils that we need. Good, sharp knives. They can be very pricey. So again, we try to make this accessible to everybody. So get the best knives you can within your budget. You want a nice heavy handle. You want one solid piece. A good everyday knife, if you're only going to treat yourself to one, would be a chef knife like this, but you'll feel the heft of it. You want a nice heavy handle, and again, one uniform blade to handle, and it should feel very comfortable in your hand, and it should actually be weighted very, very evenly, meaning that the handle doesn't feel so much, heavier than the blade. If you're chopping veg, careful with your digits, your hands, your fingers. You want to make sure that you're working as often as you can with a flat surface down. Okay, and chop down. If you're working on something that's a little bit rolly, you run the risk of maybe hurting your fingers and slicing your fingers. So I just wanted to show you, put down a nice sharp knife. More people do more injuries with dull blades than they do with sharp meat. So you want to make sure you've got a nice sharp blade there.
They also have chef gloves. These
I'm just
gloves.
going to turn the volume up. Hang on, I'll be back. We thought this might happen. A little bit of volume issue here.
I hear you.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
I don't know. I'm pretty.
There we go. Do you use a glove, Maxine?
I wanted to get one for Hanukkah, but yet the Hanukkah elf didn't bring it, so I'm gonna have to get my own. But I wanted to get one. And also luckily we have not far on the town over in Pleasantville, we have the Zwilling Company, which makes knives, and it's right here. And you could go into their showroom. It's ridiculous. But
Absolutely.
yeah, it's pretty crazy. But I have a question for
Yeah.
both of you. What is your go-to comfort food?
My go-to, well, Malcolm, do you want to go first?
Okay, it depends where I'm at. You know, it's location. Like when I go to the beach in the daytime, it's sort of like from the old days, ham and cheese hero sandwich with lots of hot mustard.
Nice.
Because it was a
sounds
place
good.
in Coney Island called Mary's. Of course, when I go to the baseball game, it's hot dogs. Hot
That's a
dogs with a
comfort
lot of relish. And it's the same thing when I go to Central Park. It's those the push cart things where they have the boiled hot dogs.
Interesting.
So
Mine is
it's
definitely pasta, some type of pasta. Lasagna, maybe at the top of the list would be there. I do love soups.
Yeah, me too.
And I'm a soup eater year round. I know some people only like them in the, when it's cooler out, in the colder months, but I can eat them all the time. There's just something I feel like it's healing. It's, healing nanites, right? So,
okay, Courtney, you have to hold your ears for this because I think you might be offended.
Oh boy, here we go.
Of a comfort food that I have, which my mother used to cook for like a quick meal. It's pasta with ketchup and butter.
That gets a big cross right here, ladies and gentlemen.
And when we, of course, it was very fast to do, even when you just have the pasta. And my mother's name was Lee, so when I gave it to the kids, we called it pasta a la Lee.
Oh God!
So it gave it a.
Malcolm, I like you a great deal, so I'm going to let you slide with the ketchup.
Yeah, me too. I can't. My mom made great spaghetti
meatballs. I knew that would offend your sensibilities.
So wait, while you're cutting, the popular comfort foods in the U.S. are, I'll just read them briefly: grilled cheese and tomato soup, pizza, mac and cheese, pasta, breakfast burrito, matzo ball soup. This is the list. Chili. And I see some connection to cheese in a lot of these things. It seems like cheese is a comfort food, in a way. And, mac and cheese is huge. And unless you have it with truffle oil or something, I don't know. They make, that would get me pretty. I mean, if they said, here's mac and cheese with some truffle oil,
right?
I would have to stop right there.
I'm thinking,
Max, that goes back to our other shows with the Tush twins.
Yeah.
Where Paula said she had latkes with caviar on top.
Yeah. My best friend, I asked what the toppings. We did a Hanukkah thing, and I said, oh, the usual sour cream,
sour cream
applesauce, or whatever else. But she goes, well, I like mine with cream fresh and caviar. And I'm like, what the? I was like, you're kidding me, seriously, right? And knowing her, she does. And instead of Manischewitz, it's probably a high-end bottle of champagne with that. So happy Hanukkah to you.
I'm surprised that the list doesn't include more sweet. Like, I'm curious that it has more people enjoy like savory things.
Yes, except for like applesauce, most people like more savory. The sour cream is big, and then I heard this week that there's a shortage of cream cheese. Did you hear about that?
I know.
There's
I guess
cream
I'll have
cheese
to watch
shortage. Bagel stores are freaking out. So,
well, I almost didn't move out to California because when I first came out here, they did not have Haagen-Dazs distributed here.
Oh my gosh!
And
See, I feel like ice cream might be a but anyway, we're trying to focus on those that fill you, that fill your soul, not fill your belly, fill your soul, make you feel better. And based on what we know about nutrition and those things that provide all of those different compounds that, help with immunity and keep your immune function intact, that help with, there's actually research studies that have looked at your neutrophil count, but you like chicken soup for the soul. I know we all go to that, it actually helps in the healing process. For many people, that warm or even hot, so soups, now bone broth, so there's lots to that. So there's the chicken soup component of it, or even turkey soup. But there's, reason why we're encouraged to not only stay hydrated with lots of fluids, but particularly warm fluids, like teas and soups, because it thins the secretions and helps, the healing process. So, even if we don't have hard and fast data, it feels good. It provides a lot of nutrition, and we do know that it definitely thins those mucosal secretions, which helps. You want that if you've got a cold, you want to try and thin that out and get it out of the body as quickly as possible.
So you're doing lentil soup? Is this what the
lentil
thing is?
soups? So
where's the
I don't have an
lentils?
overhead cam, otherwise I'd show you what this looks like, but I do have pictures, so I will show.
Did you have to wash and pre-cook the lentils, or what did you do with them?
Yep,
Or are
they're
you
not
doing
in
with
yet. They're in here. So yeah, you get a bag. Any bag will do, which is one of the reasons why I like these bean-based soups, particularly lentil soup. As we've discussed, lentils they're a great protein source. They do not need to be soaked. They're a great source of iron. I like the Jackrabbit brand, but
Me too.
Any store brand will do, but no matter which one you're going to choose, and it even says it on the package. Every once in a while, you might get a tiny little pebble or something in there. So you want to make sure that you've rinsed them. And they're in a colander right now. They've been rinsed and they've been drained. So you always want to do that with any dried bean, but particularly your lentils, because as I said, we're not cooking them first. They're going from the bag, rinsed, drains, and then they're going to go into our soup. They don't need a tremendous amount of time to cook. I'm going to go ahead and put in this is browning down nicely. So I'm going to go ahead and put in my garlic, not all of it, because I'm going to use some of this later on. And as we said, you'll start to smell it immediately, but usually with under 2 minutes would be the time. You do not want to burn it. I'm just going to throw in a little bit more in there and let that cook down. We've added our salt, we've added our pepper. The next thing you want to add in is going to be your lentils. Again, rinse and dry those in. If you're using vegetable broth, I'm going to use a combination of chicken broth and water. So I'm just stirring this all up. Last time we did one of our episodes and we spoke about, we made our salt episode. Remember, you want to know what you're using. So I know that this particular stock, and I do like the stock from Costco. I think the flavor is very good, but I do know it has salt in it. So I know that, so I'm going to scale back on how much additional salt I'm going to throw in here so that you've got the flavor down.
I use the no salt or low salt because I kind of have to, but it works. I'll throw in a little, salt, kosher salt, but that's what I need to use, and with water as well. So we're on pretty much the same page here.
Yeah.
So when am I getting a sample of this soup? When
Absolutely.
I go walk my dog?
I'm going to bring it by you tomorrow.
Okay. I think Malcolm is looking like, how come I can't get this now?
I get this.
Come to New York, Malcolm. We're going to get snow on Wednesday. Enjoy yourself.
That sounds fair. You guys live a few blocks from each other. I live 3,000 miles away.
I know.
I could try
It's a bit of a trip.
It's a bit of a trip. So Maxine, I do have a secret ingredient. This is the lentil soup that my grandparents made, my grandmother made, my mom made, and it's sort of been passed down. I will say, and then I'm going to talk about my secret ingredient that I've also mentioned in my post before. I've often made something called, talk about comfort foods, my clean out the refrigerator soup. Which I know it sounds like it could be disgusting, but it's really a great way to utilize veg that might be left over, whether they be cooked or raw, that might have been a day or two. I'm not talking moldy, but just not at their peak of freshness. So maybe your carrot's got a little more flex in it than it probably should. You got a potato in there that's probably been in there a little longer than it should. It's a great way to make a base out of those veg. Again, chop them all the same way. Get that same base going with your onions, maybe some garlic. Put all those veg in there. Maybe you've got a bag of kale or some escarole greens or some spinach greens. Put that in there. Use your vegetable based broth or your chicken broth, and then cook all that down. Add protein to it, either beans. Maybe you've got some leftover chicken that you could shred if it's been cooked, and then put in there. You've just created this incredible vegetable base, comfort food, very filling, jam-packed with vitamins and minerals, a good lean protein source, and you've minimized some of the waste that's going on in your own kitchen at home, and keep stuff out of our garbage cans. So I know the name is not very glamorous or very sexy at all, but it's a great way to make a super mean soup and utilize some of your veg. I know my timer. I know I'm getting the hook, Malcolm. My secret ingredient, Reggiano rinds. Reggiano Parmigiana. So it's
it's the cheese.
It's the cheese.
It's the comfort in the cheese.
That's what it is. So the cheese adds a little bit of that punchy, salty, beautiful flavor. It actually adds a little thickness to it. I guess this cheese is expensive, so buy it in a block form. Use the rest of the cheese for grating in soups and on pasta and so forth, or salads. Save the rind. Put it in a bag or a container that you can put. Here's my freezer again. You can see I use my freezer, but that's where you want to store these so they don't get mold. Cheese will eventually mold. And heaven forbid we have Reggiano molding in the fridge. Put it in your freezer. When you're making soup, take it out of the bag, throw it in and let it cook down, stir it. Incredible flavor, minimize waste, great comfort food, lots of flavor.
So,
I can't wait to taste this.
After you cook it, how long can that stay in the refrigerator, or what do you do with it if you don't finish it?
Refrigerator, definitely, several days. I mean, up to 3 or 4 days for sure. If you don't think you're going to eat it during that time, again, seal it up and then put it in your freezer and go from there. So again, I think 3 months to 6. 6 months would be totally fine. Make sure that you've got it in a nice airtight container.
And that wouldn't last in my house.
And it won't last here either. I mean, it's a fan. Everybody, we eat it a lot. Max, don't worry. I got a container for you.
I'm being, I'm like, she's so cool. Thank you again for that beautiful.
Thank you, Courtney.
And she gave me a cranberry cake too.
Max, sign us out.
I'm going to sign you off. And this was great. I loved watching you cook. Can't wait to eat it. All right. Yeah. Thanks for joining us for Courtney on Health. To get more info, follow Courtney on her Facebook page, which is Courtney on Health, on Instagram at CLG Wellness, and visit her website, CourtneyGravities.com. For more shows, go to MalcolmPresents.com and theManyShadesOfGreen.com. Courtney on Health, smart, sound nutrition, strong, safe fitness, and we'll catch you next time.
Courtney, you sure you don't want to relocate to Los Angeles? I could get you good clientele for everything, for the cooking, for the health portion. There are a lot of us older people out here that need health advice.
I'll take it under advisement.
Take care of advice. Speak to your husband and your kids.
Well, when this all COVID craziness goes, we have to take a trip to LA, Malcolm.
That sounds fun, actually.
Yeah.
In the meantime, guys, I'll see you guys next week.
See you next week. Have a good one.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.